this is one of those days where you're catching up on a lot of things as far as information. You're catching up on maybe some things around the house or out at your job before you leave. We're always so busy in this day of life. There's always something going on. And if you're not busy, then you either have everything put together and life is going good. You're just like, every day's a good day. But if there's a fine line there. If we're focused on God, then things can go good for a lengthy time. But there's always going to be temptation. There is always going to be something's going to happen that's going to trigger a different way of life. And when a situation pops up that is almost overwhelming, especially if we've been like pretty comfortable for the last year or two, who do you focus on? What do you focus on? And how do you focus on whatever you're focusing on? It can go two different directions. Some people say many different directions. No, it only goes two different directions, good or bad. Whatever decision we make, no matter what it is, it's either good or it's bad. A lot of people want to do good, but they really don't know how. A lot of people want to do good, but they don't have help. A lot of people want to do good, but they may be the lazy ones that just sit back and expect things good to happen to them, but yet they're not lifting the little pinky to get out there and look for whatever it's going to take to make whatever the situation is better. And if you don't do anything at all, then how is it going to get better? If you want to grow and be closer to God, don't you think we need to step out on faith and be able to expect, I guess you could say, expect God to lead us in the direction He would have us go? But if you don't step out on faith, if you don't take action, because faith really isn't good unless you have action to go with it. I mean, let's say you want to drive to the store, and you jump in your vehicle, you start her up, you got faith that vehicle is going to start. But if you didn't turn that key, how are you going to know? I mean, that's a cheap concept, I guess you could say. But really it's the same if you think about it, because it's like the air that we breathe. We have faith our lungs is going to work, the air is going to be there for us to breathe in order to help keep us going. But it's something that we're so used to that we don't even think about it. We're breathing. We don't think too much about, hey, if for some reason that air was no longer there, how would we breathe? How would our lungs work? People that are suffocated, the air has stopped going into their lungs. So, yeah, you know what I'm saying there. It's a lot of things that happen in our life that some of it we create ourselves without even thinking about it, by the direction that we've been going, the thoughts we've been having, the material that we read or listen to or watch could lead us in the wrong direction just a little bit at a time. But before you know it, you're like sitting there thinking back, how did I get here? How did this happen? Why did I turn out this way? And that happens on good and bad sides. Because some people will get to an area of life and it's like, how in the world did I create all this? How in the world did I accomplish all this? Well, if you can't sit down and go back through your past and what started the ball rolling, either direction, up or down, then maybe you were so busy that you probably don't even know how many toes you stepped on, how many people's lives you hurt to end up where you're at. That's where people have lost their focus on true life, on the true meaning. Who created us? We just didn't evolve. I mean, there's just no way. We are so complicated built. And the way everything works, and not just within us, but the whole universe. It just didn't happen in a fireball. And the people that believe that, if they would just step out on faith and go seek the truth in areas that they don't want to seek the truth because they don't want to hear it, then maybe they would understand more. It's like the atheists and even scientists who actually stepped out. They wouldn't say faith, but in a way it was a negative faith, but they were stepping out on a limb to prove that Christianity, that Christ never existed, that God, our Creator, never existed. But they were willing to step over their own boundaries, seeking truth, to prove it all wrong, to find out the evidence was there. They found out it is true, and they are no longer atheists. That's a good thing. But today, there are so many lost people because they're not willing to take that step. There is many areas in the Word that talks about faith. We have to have faith. Moses had faith that when he stuck the rod, the stick, the walking stick, whatever you want to call it, in the water and it separated, he had to have faith that God was going to do what he said he was going to do. Now, I'm sure at the second that he put that in the water, he wasn't quite sure how it was going to happen. You know, was it going to harden up to where they could walk across it? Or was it going to separate so they could walk across it? There's a lot of questions on what was going through his mind at the time, but he had faith that whatever it was, he knew God was in charge. And he had faith that whatever was going to happen was going to be good for them, for all those people. Because he knew that if God's leading them away from their problem, that he would have a solution. And he wasn't going to lead them to where they were all going to be slaughtered there on the edge of the water. So faith. Not just saying that you have faith, but actually having faith. And seeking. get off our lazy rears and seek the truth. Because it's there. We just need to find it. But you got to seek it before you can find it. It's not just going to, well, actually it does fall in our lap a lot of times. But we don't see it because we're not seeking it. And it might be days down the road you're like, oh, wait a minute. There was that moment in time. How come I didn't see that? Wow. Exactly. It happens to all of us. It's happened to me. It's amazing the attention that God has given us, trying to help us go the right direction, trying to help us understand Him better. But without seeking, looking for truth, how are we going to see it when we do see it? Wow. Life is always full of surprises, and we wonder why. It's going to happen, good or bad. How are we going to handle it? And do we have the faith that we need? And not just believing, but taking the step forward. Taking that step of action toward faith. And believing God's going to take care of us as long as we're doing His will and we're seeking Him. Bad things is going to happen because Satan does not want us to be close to God. So believe me, if you're seeking to be closer to God, expect bad things to happen. It's a given. You're trying to do good. You got that back door you can run because you're just trying. I went over that before in a different video, a couple times I believe. But actually working on bettering yourself, seeking truth, and having faith that God is going to open doors for you and good things is going to happen. And when the bad things do happen, not if, but when the bad things do happen, faith is going to get you through the situation. Action is going to get you through that situation. Believing, which is part of faith, is going to get you through that situation much easier than what it would have if you didn't have faith and didn't take action, didn't seek a better solution. So it's more than just believing, it's knowing. That's it. And God bless.